Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brody Consulting Group. To get more information about our coaching, publishing, executive ghostwriting, and podcast production services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brody, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. Today, we're being joined by CJ Chilvers, author of A Lesser Photographer. CJ, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Are you ready to get started?
Absolutely.
All right, question number one. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
I would say just get it out of the way. Get that first book out of the way, because you're going to look back on it 10 years or 20 years from now and be embarrassed. Even if it's the best idea in the world, only one of 10 or one of 20 of your projects will catch on with the public. So get them out of the way. Get to those 20 as quickly as possible.
And what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
Press right now, because I only do like self-publishing now. It's just pressing that publish button, because we tend to be perfectionists with these things, and there's always something that can be improved in a book. But press publish, get it out of the way.
Yeah, my mantra that I teach my clients is done is better than perfect. You can always make updates, you can always make second editions. Just get it out there and don't be afraid to take the plunge.
Yep, it's like Stephen Pressfield's "Don't be precious." That's what you can't be precious with your ideas.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about marketing. So please share a marketing strategy that you have used in your book launch that worked well.
Well, I don't do typical book launches because this is not my only form of income. This is like my fun, the fun thing in my life. But I've had an email list for 15, 20 years. And, I was early to jump on that bandwagon, and it's been the most useful, helpful thing I can imagine in my writing. All I do is put messages out to my list, say, hey, I did another thing. Check it out.
And so tell me a little bit about your email list. You've grown this for a number of years. How large is your email list, if you don't mind me asking?
To tell you the truth, you'd be surprised how small it is. It's only a couple of thousand, maybe 3,000. At this point, I don't know, because I keep weeding it, well. I want to keep the open rate at 60 to 80% at least, and in order to do that, you have to get some of the people who don't read off of there, and there's a system for that too, to make sure that they're actually not reading. I don't want to get rid of anybody who actually wants to see my stuff or has some kind of email program where I can't tell they're opening. So I make sure, but I weed regularly. That's so important, because you don't want to pay for people who are just not interested anymore.
And you bring up a great point. I always refer to it as pruning your garden, so to speak, because you want to make sure that you have the right fans on there and the ones that are going to support you, but also most importantly, they're getting value from the emails that you're getting. I have the same philosophy. I probably in the last year and a half, I've trimmed off just under 3,000 people off of my list. And the main reason was I wanted to have people that were engaged, because I truly believe in the concept of having 1,000 raving fans. And when you have those 1,000 fans that are going to support you throughout your launches, then that's what makes the difference. I've never cared about having a huge list. I've cared about having an engaged list, and most importantly, people that I can help in their journey.
Yeah, there's actually a chapter in this latest book about that, where I say you don't even need 1,000 fans, you need one fan. And I go through how one fan has helped me do this or that, and advanced what I wanted to do. I mean, I think I had a job for almost 15 years writing at a large company, all because one person read my writing. And the same is true of what I'm doing now for another large company. It's because one person found out about my writing. It has nothing, I don't need 1,000 people.
Yeah, you're absolutely right with that. So in regards to your list engagement, how often do you send emails out to your list?
It's It depends. And my current format, I found a format that works best for my list that my list really connects to. And this is after several years of trying. And it used to be weekly, but now the format that they prefer takes longer to put together. So it may be bi-weekly. In the summer months, it may be only monthly.
And yet you're able to keep them engaged.
Yeah, it took a long time to figure out what they respond to best. And that includes format and frequency.
So what typically do you, if you don't mind me just digging a little bit further on this,
Sure.
what are the type of emails that you typically send out to your list that's able to connect and have that engagement?
Well, they all follow a newsletter format. I don't send out anything other than newsletters because I want to give a lot more value before I ask for anything. So usually now it consists of top 5 articles. And what I do is I summarize those articles and my feeling on them, or they may be quotes, or they may be ideas of my own on my blog first. That I link back to my blog from the newsletter of those blurbs. Then below those blurbs is another 5 to 10 of the top quotes since the last newsletter that I've encountered. And the people seem to really love the quotes. I guess it's maybe the attention span of readers. But quotes are a big deal.
So in regards to your articles and blogs and everything, what subject matter are you typically sending them about? Is this about business, photography? What exactly is it that you're sending them about the information about?
It used to be very targeted subject-wise. Now it isn't, because I have to be honest that I'm a generalist. I've written, my 2 most popular books. One is about minimalism in photography, and the other is about Van Halen. I write about a wide variety of things, and if I'm going to keep myself interested in putting out a newsletter regularly, then I have to be honest about what I'm interested in. And usually it could be anything. It could be business, publishing, whatever.
Yeah, that is one of the biggest things I feel. It has to be something that you're passionate about because it comes through. And when you're able to show that you're passionate about Van Halen, about minimalism and photography, that's going to catch on with your readers and help to build that bond even further.
Right. And occasionally there's, that handful, that group of people who all your interests, that intersection matches with theirs, and then they're fans for life.
Well,
and I'm fans of theirs for life.
Well, and I was going to ask too, so with your email list as well, so when you are promoting your book, are you also writing blogs in regards to your book and then having those links in the newsletter as well to help promote your book?
Yes, but that's a rarity. I tend not to ask for anything unless I really have something worth asking about. I just want to provide value at a rate of maybe 10 to 1.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about your favorite book. So what is your favorite book, and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
Well, I don't really have a favorite book, but the book I've read the most in the last several years is Deep Work by Cal Newport. I just I keep reading that book because it's aspirational. I think anyone wishes they had agency over their work and personal time in the way described in that book. But we all know, anyone who reads that book knows deep down that there's a lot of truth in that book. And we may not be living it, but we probably should.
And for a final question, what is your favorite quote and why?
Well, I put out so many quotes in my newsletter, I really had to. There's like a backlog of 3,000 or so. So I just picked the one at the top, which is pretty timely. It says, beware the barrenness of a busy life. And that's from Socrates. And that goes along with the Deep Work book.
And how did that quote have such an impact on you?
I'm too busy. I think we're all too busy. And being less busy and focusing on the things that are really making a difference in our business and in our life, that's a constant struggle. but I think it's a worthwhile one.
I agree with you completely. I have that same struggle. In the past few weeks in particular, I've really taken a much higher level overview of everything, and I brought in an assistant to help me, and I only focus on those most important things. And I believe the principle is called like the 80-20, so to speak, and using that principle to focus on just the things that are most important, and then letting the rest of the stuff take care of itself.
Yep. Yeah, a busy life is it's a sign that something's wrong. You're not focusing.
Well, CJ, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
It's just cjchilvers.com.
And I'm assuming they can sign up for your newsletter on the site. Is that correct?
Yep, and I'm not going to beat you over the head with it. It's there if you want to sign up.
Well, and I rarely plug that, but your newsletter sounds so intriguing, and I love your philosophy with it that I'm going to sign up for it myself. And that's not a plug or anything. It's just the fact that I like the content that you're providing.
Well, thank you. I'll be sure to hit you with my welcome message, which is always, which is not automated. I welcome everyone personally and ask them questions about how they got there and why.
Well, CJ, thank you once again for being on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how you can be featured in our brand new Get Published business book, go to getpublishedpodcast.com.